Welcome back. Now for what's trending in true crime. A 6-year-old boy stapled to a wall and shot with a BB gun. Michigan prosecutors are calling the boy's murder one of the worst cases of child abuse they have ever seen. The boy's mother, Elena Jennings, and her boyfriend, Daniel Giacchina, both are facing charges. Prosecutors say that the child, affectionately known as Chulo, died from blunt force trauma to the abdomen and a perforated bowel after a long period of abuse and being confined to a pen in the corner of a room. Now, days before the boy died, the boyfriend allegedly stapled him to the wall for looking out the window.
On one instance, on July 26, Giacchina bound Chulo to the wall to keep Chulo confined in the corner and to position his head to face the wall. He did so by stapling the clothing Chulo was wearing to the wall with a staple gun. He texted Jennings that he had solved the problem of keeping Chulo's face toward the wall.
Now, prosecutors say Giacchina then texted the boy's mother a photo of the boy on the wall as the two laughed about it. Now, this morning, we're asking how in the world could a parent laugh at their child's abuse? Let me bring in our power panel now. Still with me, former prosecutor Melba Pearson, the state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg, and criminal defense attorney in New York, former prosecutor Sam Braverman. Great to see you all. Melba, would you kick off our discussion, please? Your thoughts on this case?
Highly disturbing, highly disturbing. My initial thought was the question of as to whether or not narcotics was involved, because that's the only mind state that I can see where it would be amusing to see your child be abused, because then you've obviously lost all touch with reality. Either that or they're incredibly damaged people that are somehow deriving pleasure maybe as a result of being abused themselves or something along those lines. But I definitely would be considering mental health here as a real option. But no matter how you cut it, this poor child should be with us today, and what happened was utterly disgusting.
You're exactly right. Dave Ehrenberg, to you next, please. Your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it's horrific just when you thought you've seen it all. I mean, something like this comes out, and yeah, Melba's right. Maybe their only defense is diminished capacity. Maybe they can say they were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I mean, they'll still have to go down for this and serve real prison time, both of them. The other thing I think is that I would expect perhaps an attempt to get the mother to take a plea and testify against the boyfriend. There's no marital privilege here. They're not married. It's a boyfriend situation. And so I'm thinking that that could perhaps play into it. I just think, though, they both need prison time, lengthy prison sentences, and a jury is going to hate both of them.
Yes, Dave, you're exactly right. Sam Braverman, last but certainly not least, talk to us here, please. What do you think about these two parents?
Well, I wish I could tell you that these were the only two bad people in America. There's probably 1,000 kids right now who are out there suffering in some way in some apartment, and they're just being destroyed by people whose job it is to care for them but don't. This is, I mean, there's a case here without any redeeming threads. There's no thought to take away from it. There's no greater picture. These were monstrous acts, and people deserve to be punished. There's some place in prison for people like this, and let them stay there. I'm not going to shed any tears for these two.
No, certainly not.
And I don't care why they did it. It just doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter why these two people abused this kid. The wounds to his stomach are what caused his death. But when you look at the report, he's got wounds from top to bottom on every aspect, front and back of his body. It doesn't matter why they did it. It's just enough. These people go to prison for life. We move on to the next one.
Let's continue that conversation, Sam. The evidence. Let's focus in on the evidence. So we understand there are some very incriminating videos that prosecutors say came from Giacchina setting up a home surveillance system in order to watch the little boy.
Giacchina purchased a home security system and mounted a camera on the wall to monitor what he and Jennings called, quote, the corner, the pen in the bedroom cordoned by the black curtain where they kept Chulo. Both Giacchina and Jennings would watch video clips of Chulo, quote, misbehaving, which would include Chulo trying to urinate, drink, or leave the corner.
Oh my gosh, you hear that. It just turns your stomach, doesn't it? And let's talk about what this evidence is going to do for the jury when they hear it, and what evidence is really going to tip the scales of justice the most here against these two parents. Melba, I'd like to go back to you, please. Child abuse cases like this one, piggybacking off of what Sam said, the point about, you know, they don't need to worry about a motive here. They just show the jury the evidence. What do you think will be most compelling for the jurors, Melba?
So two things. Number one, I think the video is going to be very compelling. The fact that they were so insidious to watch this abuse over and over again and clearly taking pleasure in it, not just in watching the abuse right in front of their eyes, but to actually go so far as to look at a camera feed to kind of continue to enjoy that is definitely going to speak to the jury. And I also think the autopsy report, I think that, you know, medical examiner evidence, that testimony in terms of the level of injuries, as well as things like the child being malnourished, and you know, the average child at that age would be X height and weight, and because of the abuse he endured, he is significantly underweight and malnourished, et cetera, et cetera. If there's any photos of the child, you know, maybe a smiling, happy photo of the child and then a photo of what the child looked like towards the end, I think that would be gut-wrenching for the jury. So I definitely think that this is going to be the express lane again to a guilty verdict.
Yes, most definitely, Melba. Dave Ehrenberg, back to you, please. A staple gun, a BB gun, CO2 cartridges, among many items seized from this home. Talk to me here how you might use these various pieces of evidence and put them on display for the jury.
Oh, yeah, you wave them right in front of the jury. A jury has seen staple guns. Never, I'll bet, has any juror contemplated ever using a staple gun against their own children. I mean, all that stuff's going to be really dramatic and terrible for these defendants, and rightly so. One other thing, you know, the prosecutor in this case, the DA, my counterpart up there at Michigan, it's the same DA who prosecuted the crumbly parents. Can you imagine that you prosecute these horrific crumbly parents for enabling their child to be a school shooter in Michigan? You think, that's it, I've seen the worst parents in the world, and then these guys come along. What a day to be a prosecutor. I mean, you know, she's seen the worst of the worst.
She sure has. She is awesome, DA McDonald. Sam Braverman, take us home on this, please. What do you think is going to be the most horrific in this case? Perhaps maybe the autopsy report, photographs. What do you think is really going to lead to the demise of these two parents in our court system?
Well, the young child was alive when they brought him in, right? He dies at the hospital the next day, I think. So my guess is there's probably Vivos pictures taken of him at the hospital. Surely there would have been a crime scene investigator who would have taken pictures of him before he passed away. So you'll see some real-time pictures. One of the things they're going to show is the different age of the pictures. My guess is a medical examiner is going to come up and say, okay, look at this wound here. You see the yellowing around this wound? This wound is older, and this wound's older, and this wound's older than that. And here's a recovered wound. Here's a wound that's a scar tissue, and so forth. And it's going to talk about the day in, day out abuse that this poor child suffered. And it's going to show a pattern of abuse to eliminate the argument that this is a one-off event. I don't know this case, but I would guess that the prosecutor said to these two people, I don't care. I'm not offering you a plea bargain. You're going to trial because I'm seeking the max on you too. So as my colleague just said, this is going to be a fast march to a guilty verdict. And it would be interesting to me to see, do they start presenting a defense now to sentencing, or do they just fight the case on facts? Because if they fight the case on facts, then they'll have no argument in sentencing. Mm-hmm. They may, like one does in a death penalty case, is that you're trying the sentencing aspect at the first part. That may be the plan. I don't know yet.
Sure. Yeah. To be continued, but we know this prosecution is in outstanding hands with Karen McDonald, the Oakland County DA there in Michigan. We will leave the discussion there for now. Big thank you to Melba Pearson and Dave Ehrenberg for joining us this morning. I know we have to let you both go. We'll see you soon. Sam Braverman's coming along with us, and we want you to do the same, please.